My voice is a little weak. It's Ramadan, so I'm observing it. Um, Usually I'm here at midnight, but we still have another 3 hours before Ramadan ends. So I thought, hey, oh, Ramadan doesn't end. I mean, the fasting for the day ends. So let's jump on a stream and do some coding today. So my thought today is to go through the React module on FreeCodeCamp. React is something very new to me. It's something I've always put off. And on another recent stream, I started it, but I think I got uncomfortable or I was tired and I ended the stream. But so I thought, what better time than today to try it out again. If you're new to the stream, my name is Kashfi, software engineer. What else can I say? On this stream, I'm sharing. This stream, I've been working through the FreeCodeCamp certification stuff. Some of you might be thinking, why would a software engineer go through these things and review stuff? But I found these modules to be very helpful. You can think of them as katas. Katas are exercises to keep your skills sharp. So FreeCodeCamp has an amazing kata on, or certification program for learning responsive web design. This goes through HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then if you're interested in doing data and visualization, there's a certification for that. If you want to review databases, there's one for that. Backend APIs, there's one for that. I had for a very long time underappreciated the resources that are here. I always thought, oh, it's FreeCodeCamp, it's corny, it's cheesy, whatever. You know, the first project you do is make a cat photo app. Um, if you're like, if you're in that mindset, you're making a big mistake because the work that you end up doing here over 69 steps, over 91 steps, and on is great practice for you. And you're learning by doing. So if you hear people say you gotta get out of tutorial hell, you gotta stop, reading books and actually making something and you don't know what to read, don't know what to make, this is the place to be. And if you're already a seasoned veteran who have lots of experience and you just wanna do something to keep your mind sharp, keep your muscle memory on point, this is the place to do it. So anyway, let's get back to the work. On the free front end development libraries component of the FreeCodeCamp, and we're going to be doing the React. Alright, another rules about this of this stream is that I work in Pomodoros. So, and when we start the clock, it'll be a 45-minute countdown. It'll count down to 0, and after that 0, we take a 15-minute break. That's my workflow. I just find that 45 minutes and then the 15 minutes is a good balance of being productive and also giving yourself some time to go stretch out your leg, walk, check your email, check your TikTok, and whatnot. But then once that 15 minutes is over, you come back, get in your chair, and you work for another 45-minute session. Alright, so again, we're going to be starting from the first step here, and hopefully by the end of the stream, maybe 2 Pomodoros, we'll have completed this React module. If you're watching along live on this live stream and you have a question, don't be shy. Leave your comment on the chat or in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you either live or during the break or afterwards. Alright, again, my name is Kashfi, and thank you for joining me on the stream. So let's get started, yeah? Let's get some fireworks and start the clock. Alright, let's see some introductory stuff on React. Okay, so I'm going to also be reading out loud, so if you're not a fan of reading out loud, you can mute me. But if you are new to programming or intermediate programming, reading out loud and thinking out loud is a skill that you need to develop, especially the thinking out loud part. Because when you're communicating with your coworkers or you're at an interview, you want to be able to show them that you are familiar with the terminology, they're comfortable thinking out loud and using this terminology to communicate to somebody else what you want to do and how you want to go about it. So anyway, what do we got? React is an open source Vue library created and maintained by Facebook. That's cool. It's a great tool to render the user interface of modern web application. React uses a syntax extension of JavaScript called JSX. Oh, nice. Did not know that. I should be taking notes. Let me... Okay, this is good. Maybe a Jamboard, even though... Or Google Docs. What's a good... I'm just creating a Google Doc. React Notes. Let's make it smaller, maybe single column isn't too bad. Let's make it bigger. I want to be able to see it at a glance. 40 is fine, yep. React Notes. It's open source. Interesting. It's a Vue library. This means, like, you know, the user interface, like buttons, menus, titles, etc. I guess we'll learn more about those as we go. It uses a syntax extension of JavaScript called JSX that allows you to write HTML directly within JavaScript. That's kind of wild. React uses a syntax extension of JavaScript, JSX. Interesting. Syntax extension of JavaScript. So what? Allows us to write HTML directly with Java. But weren't we already able to write HTML directly within JavaScript? I guess is the keyword. I remember, you know, you were able to. Let's see. Let's say you had like a P component, right, with a class paragraph. You'd have constant paragraph equals document dot get element by ID para, right? And then you would do paragraph dot inner HTML, and then you could do backticks or double quotes, and then modify it, right? Or something like that. That was probably the convention that the other. Okay, but I guess here JSX will allow us to write HTML directly. Okay, we'll find out in the steps later within JavaScript. Lets you use full programmatic power of JavaScript within HTML and helps to keep your code readable. For the most part, JSX is similar to the HTML that you already learned. However, there are a few key differences that will be covered throughout these challenges. Interesting. Let me also turn this to work so no one's messages interrupts us. So, for this stream, and maybe in future streams where we're doing Learn With Me, what's the title of this? Dive into. Okay, I'm totally new, so if you know more than me, happy to feel free to share your knowledge in the chat. But like I said, I'm totally new to React. This has several benefits. is going to be a long, slow stream. Let's use the full programmatic power of JavaScript within HTML. It helps to keep your code readable. Alright, for instance, JSX is a syntactic extension of JavaScript. You can actually write JavaScript directly within JSX. Okay. To do this, you simply include the code you want to be treated as JavaScript within curly braces. Oh, okay. However, because JSX is not valid JavaScript, JSX code must be compiled into JavaScript. The transpiler Babel is a popular tool for this process. For this convenience, it's already added behind the scenes for these challenges. Oh, okay. If you happen to write syntactically invalid JSX, you will see the first test and these challenges fail. It's worth noting that under the hood, the challenges are calling React DOM, .render, JSX, document element ID, root. Okay, so this is syntactic sure for JavaScript, I guess. This function call is what places your JSX into React's own lightweight representation of the DOM. Yeah, so what I was saying earlier. React DOM. This is what it used to be doing, and now they're just wrapping it into another thing. Anyway, I need to stop doing the judgy things. I need to stop being a douche and just have an open mind. Let React into my heart. This function call is what places your JSX into React's own lightweight representation of the DOM. React then uses snippets of its own DOM to optimize updating only specific parts of the actual DOM. Okay, a lot of information here. And I guess I will get better at understanding it the more I do it. So let's go. The current code uses JSX to assign a div element to the constant. Okay, what are we doing? The current code, alright. Uses JSX. That's not using JSX, it's just a variable's name. It's called JSX. To assign a div element to the constant JSX. That's right. Replace a div with an h1 element. Replace a div with an h1 element and add the text hello JSX. Hello JSX. Okay. Constant JSX should return an h1 element. The h1 tag should include the text hello JSX exclamation point. Alright, submit and go to next challenge. Is this 2, or is it going straight to what I was doing? Oh no, it is 2. That was a simple JSX element, simple JX element. Okay, so it's constant JSX. And what did we do? Behind the scenes, they had a lot of transcompiler stuff going on. Anyway, they did constant JSX, and we did h1. Hello JSX. The last challenge is a simple example of JSX, but JSX can represent more complex HTML as well. One important thing to know about nested JSX is that it must return a single element. Ooh, that's critical. Let's see, I knew there was a shortcut. Nested JSX must return a single element. This one parent element would wrap all of the other levels of nested elements. That makes sense of why the root was there, get element by ID. For instance, several JSX elements written as siblings with no parent wrapper elements will not transpile. Okay, valid JSX has one parent container that's holding the three pair of elements. Invalid is having three pair of elements. Okay, I can dig it. Can you guys see? Let me make it a little bit bigger. There you go. A valid JSX has a one container, and that gets returned. Invalid, it can't do three elements. It can't return three things. Define a new JSX constant, JSX, that renders div, which contains the following elements in order. An H1, I want to see something. This is still a valid JavaScript statement, no? Yeah. An H1, P, and an unordered list that contains three li elements. Unordered list. Unordered is UL, ordered is OL, and three list items. You can include any text you want within each element. Complex. When rendering multiple elements like this, you can wrap them all in parentheses, but it's not strictly required. Also notice the challenge uses div tag to wrap all the child elements within a single parent element. Keep this in mind. If you remove the div, it will no longer compile. Hey, there you go. Let's see. Alright, so I guess I didn't need the semicolon. Run the test. Let's go to the next one. Add comments. JSX is a syntax that gets compiled into valid. JSX is a syntax that gets compiled into valid JavaScript. Oh man. JSX is a syntax. Okay, I thought JSX is a syntax. JSX is a syntax. So it's not. It's a syntax. Oh, okay. That gets compiled into valid JavaScript. That gets compiled into valid JavaScript. Syntax that gets compiled into valid JavaScript. Sometimes for readability you might need to add commas to your code like most programming language. JSX has its own way to do this. Comments. curly braces, and then the comment. The code editor has a JSX element similar to what you created in the last challenge. Add a comment somewhere within the provided development. Add a comment somewhere within the provided development. So again, curly braces, then the comment, and then the comments. Curly braces and the slash star slash. Anyway, let's take a second to recognize FreeCodeCamp. If you like working through FreeCodeCamp, you should become a sponsor by donating to their cause. Alright, let's keep on reading and learning. Render HTML elements to the DOM. So far, you've learned that JSX is a convenient tool to write readable HTML within JavaScript. Oh, they put parentheses. Nice. Oh, that's how it is. Parentheses and then a semicolon. Parentheses and a semicolon. That makes sense. That way I can use multi-line. So far you've learned that JSX is a convenient tool to write readable HTML within JavaScript. It goes from syntax to now JSX is a tool. Which is the right way to teach. So each time you're being introduced to the word or the term, you're getting a new way of remembering what it is within JavaScript. So it has to be underlined within JavaScript. With React, we can render this JX directly to the HTML DOM. Alright, so now we're getting a little React. We can render JSX directly to the HTML DOM. How? Using React's rendering API. React DOM. This React has a rendering API. Cool. React DOM offers a simple method to render React elements to the DOM, which looks like this: React DOM.render component to render target node. The first argument is the React element or component that you want to render, and the second argument is a DOM node that you want to render the component to. Okay. As you'd expect, React DOM.render must be called after the JSX element declarations. Okay. Just like how you must declare variables before using them. Okay. So, code editor has a simple JSX element, right? Use the React DOM.render method to render this component to the page. You can pass define JSX elements directly in as the first argument and use the document .getElement by ID to select the DOM node to render them to. Alright. One more time. This is their rendering API. React DOM is their rendering API. Alright, so we're doing. And we're working with the React DOM.render method. So React DOM is the object, it's got a render method, and we're passing in two arguments. First, the components render, which will be this, and then the target node is the component on the HTML. Second argument is DOM node, the DOM node that you want to render the component to. Alright, JSX has already been initialized and declared. And it's telling me you can render this component to the page. So we want to render this component to the page. You can pass define the JSX elements directly. So I'm gonna first challenge node document dot get element. Alright, I'm gonna get the challenge node and store it in the variable challenge node. Then I'm gonna use the React DOM. I'm gonna pass in the JSX. Right. And the target is the challenge node. Does that work? Nope. Or they don't want me to do it that way. Document elements by ID. Oh, there we go. So that did work. Save the reference to the challenge node and challenge node, and then passed in the challenge node in the React DOM.render. Okay. Now that you're getting comfortable writing JSX, I wouldn't say that, but okay. You may be wondering how it differs from HTML. Let's do that. So far I may seem that HTML and JSX are exactly the same. One key difference is that in JSX that you can no longer use the word class to define HTML classes. This is because class is a reserved word in JavaScript, right? Instead, JSX uses class name. In fact, the naming conventions for all HTML attributes and even references in JSX become camel case. Good to know. a class of my div to the div, providing the JSX code. What? Oh, okay. Apply a class of my div, so class name is equal to my div. This is in JSX, and if it was in HTML, then it would be class. But class is a reserved word in JavaScript, so it can't. That's why when you write class, it becomes blue here, because it's a reserved word. Because where are you writing this code? You're writing it inside a JavaScript file. That's why it becomes blue. Let's continue. 20 more minutes. So far, you've seen how JSX differs from HTML in a key way with the use of class name versus class for defining HTML classes. Another important way in which JSX differs from HTML is in the idea of the self-closing tag. In HTML, almost all tags have both an opening and closing tag. The closing tag always has a / before the tag name that you're closing. However, there are special instances in HTML called self-closing tag, right? Or tags that don't require both an opening and closing tag before another tag can start. Line break, right, can be written as PR or SBR, but should never be written as PR since it doesn't contain any content. In JSX, the rules are a little different. Any JSX element can be written with a self-closing tag, and every element must be closed. Oh, this could be very interesting. The line break tag, for example, must always be written as BR in order to be a valid JSX can be transpiled. The div, on the other hand, can be written as div or div. Difference is that in the first syntax version, there is no way to include anything in the div. Div, on the other hand, can be written as div. There is no way to include anything in the div. But you know what? As we've seen in other of the tutorials, sometimes you're just creating a div that will be laterly programmatically populated. So you really don't need to include anything inside. So that could be very helpful. Fix the errors in the code editor. Okay, let's read the error code. Unterminated JSX contents. Div. Yep, so it can't be a self-closing. Oh no, that's fine. Damn it. PR. Create a stateless functional component. Oh, here we go. We already have an error. Components are the core of React. Bloop. Components are the core of Everything in React is component, and here you'll learn how to create one. Everything in React is component. There are two ways to create a React component. The first way is to use a JavaScript function. What's the other way? There are two ways to create a React component. The first way is to use a JavaScript function. Defining a component this way creates a stateless functional component. Stateless functional component. One that can receive data rendered but does not manage or track changes to the data. That's a very good definition. To create a component with a function, you simply write a JavaScript function that returns either JSX or null. One important thing to note is that React requires your function name to begin with a capital letter. Curly braces, right? Oh, it's not using arrow function. Or maybe it will later on. After being transpiled, it will have a CSS class, a custom class. Because the JSX component represents HTML, you could put several components together to create a more complex HTML page. This is one of the key advantages of the component architecture React provides. It allows you to compose your UI from many separate, isolated components. Okay, what they're promising here is pretty exciting. So, maybe the second time around I'm more open to React than I was the first time. If you look back at the first video, if it's still public, I'm just crying and cringing. The code editor has a function called myComponent. Complete this function so it returns a single div. Return, and then we do the JSX style, right? Div class name. And the self-closing tag. That one needs the semicolon is optional. Which contains some string of text. Oh, some string of text. Some string of text. Oh, yes. Can't use the self-closing one. And then some string of text. Some string of text. The key to this challenge was a note here. The text is going to be considered a child of development, so you'll not be able to use a self-closing text tag. Create a React component. The other way to define a React component is with the ES6 class syntax. In the following example, kitten extends React component. Good. Constructor props, super props. Object-oriented programming coming into play. The other way. So the first way was use a function, and now the other way is use the syntax. Did I write the first way? Nope. First way, use function. This creates an ES6 class kitten. Don't worry if you aren't familiar with these terms yet, they'll be covered in great detail in later challenges. Now we got 8 more minutes. How far did we make it? Create a React component. Okay, maybe I want to get up to here. So then the next Pomodoro, we'll start from here. So we got 4 more. Sorry for the low energy, buddies. It's just I'm fasting today to observe Ramadan. That's why I'm usually doing the really late night cast. But you know, it's a Sunday. Got some time. Let's do this. We've got 7 more minutes, and after that we'll take a break. This creates an ES6 class kitten, right? Which extends the React component, right? Because now it has access to many useful React features, such as local state and lifecycle hooks. Don't worry, okay. Also notice the kitten class is a constructor defined within it that calls super. Yeah, because it's getting the super is used to create is called the constructor parent class, in this case React component. Constructor is a special method used during the initialization of objects. They are created with the class keyword. It is best practice to call a component's constructor with super and pass props to both. This makes sure the component is initialized properly. For now, know that is standard for this code to be included. Let's pass props. Yeah, I was a little weary of what the props was. Pass props to both. For now, that is a standard. Okay. My component is defined. Finish writing the render method. Render method. Return. Oh, the render method. It's the JSX stuff. So returns a div element that contains an h1. The text hello React. Now we will look at how we can compose multiple React components. Compose multiple React components together. You should try to understand what that means to you. How do you understand this? Without going to the next sentence. Compose, composition. These are the words that you need to think about. So this is saying how do we up, build up using these smaller elements. Imagine you're building an app and have created 3 components, a nav bar, dashboard, and a footer. To compose these components together, you could create an app parent component, which renders each of these 3 components as children. To render a component as a child in React component, you include the component name written as custom HTML tags in the JSX. When React encounters a custom HTML tag reference another component, it renders the markup for that component in the location of the tag. I'm going to need to review this more and think about it more, so I'm going to copy this whole note and paste it here. Alright, where are we? We are create a component. In the code editor, there is a simplified functional component called child component and a class component called parent component. Oh, okay, so we're using both the function method, function strategy, and the extend the class strategy. Compose the 2 together by rendering the child component within the parent component. Child component is defined with the ES6 arrow function because it's a very common practice while using React. Okay. Compose the 2 together by rendering. Oh, okay. Change code. This is just going to be child component. Nope. Oh, it's self-closing. Oh, I see. So the custom HTML has to be self-closing because it doesn't contain anything, but it's going to be programmatically filled. There are many different ways you can compose elements with React. When you work with React, it's important to start thinking about your user interface in terms of components. The app example in the last channel, you break down your UI into basic building blocks, and those pieces become the components. This helps to separate the code responsible for the UI from the code responsible for handling your application logic. Oh, this is great. Okay. Component composition is one of React's powerful features. Start thinking about your user interface in terms of components. Yep. There are 2 functional components. Alright, time for a break, but let's just get up to render a class and then we'll take the break. Component comp. Okay, wait. There are 2 functional components defined in the code editor. Okay. Oh, I see. Yep. Type of fruits is a functional component. Fruits is a functional component. take the type of fruit component and compose it or nest it within the fruit components. Then take the fruits component and nest it within types of food component. Oh, cool. You could do that. Types of fruit. And then fruits. That's cool. That is pretty cool. Wow, okay, the second time around I'm really I'm very open to React. As the challenges continue to use more complex composition with React components and JSX, there is one important point to note. Rendering ES6 style class components within other components is no different than rendering the simple components you used in the last few challenges. What's happening? As the challenges continue to use more complex composition with React components and JSX, there's one important point to note. Rendering ES6 style class components within other components is no different than rendering the simple components used in the last few challenges. You can render JSX elements, stateless functional components, and ES6 components within other components. Okay, that could have been better written. Let's just save that there. In the code editor, the types of food components already rendering a component called vegetables. Vegetables, right? Okay. Also, there's the fruits component from the last challenge. It's over here. Nest two components inside of fruits. Non-citrus. Non-citrus. And then citrus. Both of these components are provided for you behind the scene, okay? Nest the fruit class component into the types of food. Fruits. You may remember using the React DOM API. Wait, where are we supposed to go up to? Oh, here we go. Render class components DOM. Yep, this is where we want to take the break. Alright, I will see you after the break. Till then, see you in 15 minutes. Go procrastinate on something. let's get back to it. Start the clock. Alright, you may remember using the React DOM API in an earlier challenge to render JSX elements in the DOM. Yep. The process for rendering React components will look very similar. Yeah, actually, let's not continue. My voice is getting light, thinner and thinner. I'm gonna come back and finish this up, or make a part 2, maybe tomorrow. Sorry guys, just I'm observing Ramadan, fasting. It's 5:20. Got another 90 minutes before I can end my fast. My voice and energy is just not there. So let's get back to this in the next stream or tomorrow. Alright. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for joining the stream. We'll continue this in another session. Until then, take care.